Have you ever wondered what happens to the wealth of powerful people like Gaddafi and Hosni? Without a doubt, history has always held a handful of people who have held positions of immense power and wealth, only to have those accomplishments and riches taken away from them for whatever reason. So, who exactly are we talking about, and how did they lose everything? Well, let's get started. Number 1. Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi maintained his grip on power in Libya for more than 4 decades. After successfully seizing control of the nation in a revolutionary coup d'etat in 1969, he became the richest man in the world in private at some point. His wealth was estimated to be above $200 billion, but how did he lose it all? Well, Gaddafi began to strengthen his control on the country after removing the previous monarchy by dismantling the parliament and instituting a police state. However, this ultimately led to his downfall. His government routinely abused his people's human rights, and he supported terrorist activities on a global scale. In the end, the people of his country decided they had had enough of the Libyan civil war, and they overthrew his administration. In 2011, Gaddafi was apprehended and tortured before being killed, losing all the wealth and power that he had gained. Number 2. Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar was one of the most powerful drug lords in the world. His cartel was responsible for supplying an amazing 80% of the cocaine that was found in the United States, and he personally earned $21.9 billion each year from his endeavors. Because of the influence he wielded, his own personal drug war came dangerously close to bringing Colombia to its knees, but the story of how he lost it all is just undeliverable. He was previously elected to the Colombian Congress before being removed owing to ties to the drug trade. This can give you an idea of how perilously close he came to destroying the whole nation. He once even offered to settle Colombia's government debt of $10 billion in exchange for the country's promise not to extradite him to the United States. However, in the aftermath of the horrific gunfight in which he was involved, he died in Medellin destitute. He had successfully been shot and killed by the police. Number 3. Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was one of the founding fathers of the United States of America. He was the nation's third leader at the time, as well as being the president of the University of Virginia. He was also one of the key authors of the Declaration of Independence when considering historical individuals. Also, because Jefferson had such a deep appreciation for wine and was certain that none of it should be watered down, he requested that it be shipped to him from Europe in bottles rather than barrels, which was quite unheard of at the time. After accounting for inflation, he determined that the annual cost of importing the goods was somewhere between $1 and $2 million. Due to his penchant for the finer things in life and the onset of the first big financial crisis in the United States, he amassed a mountain of debt and passed away destitute. Even after selling off all of his possessions, the debt that he was responsible for couldn't be paid off. The remaining years of his grandson's life were spent working to settle the financial obligations that had been left behind by his grandfather. Number 4. Puyi. The uninterrupted history of human culture in China dates back well over 3,500 years, making it by far the longest civilization in the world. The nation was ruled by an emperor for a total of 2,000 of those years, beginning with Qin Shi Huang in 221 BCE and ending with Puyi, the last emperor, in 1912. During this time, there were 21 emperors in total. Puyi was just 6 years old when he lost the leadership of the entire Chinese empire before it was briefly restored in 1917 for a few days. He served as the Manchu Claw puppet emperor of Japan beginning in 1932 and continuing through the end of World War II in 1945. After the war, the communists made him a prisoner and he stayed in their custody for the next decade, but after a long absence he eventually re-emerged and declared his support for the Communist Party. He then went on to work as an editor for the literary division of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, having previously held a position at the Beijing Botanical Gardens. Because of his job there, he was paid approximately 40 US cents each month as his salary. Number 5. Napoleon Bonaparte. After Louis XVI had his head severed from his body, Napoleon Bonaparte, who came from a poor background and had little connection to the aristocracy, rose quickly through the military ranks. He managed to attain the rank of general at the age of just 24, and by the time he was 35, he had become the Emperor of France. His military assault against the other nations of Europe resulted in the establishment of a massive empire encompassing Spain, Italy, and Prussia. In 1812, Napoleon attempted to conquer Russia but was ultimately unsuccessful. As a result, he was forced to retreat to the island of Elba 2 years later. In 1815, he returned to power momentarily but was ultimately defeated at the Battle of Waterloo. He asked the British for protection and the British exiled him to St. Helena, where he would later die in a dilapidated farmstead. Number 6. Hosni Mubarak. Hosni Mubarak is said to have had wealth ranging from $40 billion to $70 billion, and he ruled Egypt for a period of 30 years, beginning in 1981 and ending in 2011. In spite of the fact that he presided over a corrupt administration, he won election to office 4 times. The first 3 times he was nominated by Parliament and he encountered no opposition, but on his 4th nomination he did. That election, as is to be expected given the circumstances, was rigged. However, as a direct result of the Egyptian Revolution in 2011, he declared his intention to step down. The most surprising thing about Mubarak's downfall was how rapidly he went from dominating an entire nation to having all of his assets frozen and resigning in just 18 days, which all came as a direct result of unwarranted upheaval in Tunisia. The government saw one of the quickest and most dramatic falls from complete dominance to complete obscurity. Number 7. Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon was obviously victorious in the presidential election of 1968, and he went on to win re-election in 1972 in one of the largest landslides in American history, taking all of the states and the capital. However, Watergate was the scandal that cost him everything. It was soon discovered that Nixon employed underhanded tactics such as eavesdropping on the offices of his political enemies and harassing them. During the Watergate scandal, the discovery of 5 men who were later linked to the president in the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee marked a pivotal turning point. When Nixon announced his retirement in 1974, it was already far too late for his political career, and he had already been barred from the state of New York. After his startling fall from grace in 1975, it's believed that he had only $500 in savings at one point during that year. Number 8. John Werner Kluge. As a result of the $4 billion sale of the television stations that John Werner Kluge's company, Metro Media, controlled, he was able to solidify his position as the richest man in America in 1987. The Fox TV network that we all know and love today had its start from these stations, which are currently operated by 21st Century Fox. However, the unfortunate divorce of the Kluges led to the division of the family fortune, which finally resulted in its depletion. As part of the divorce settlement, Patricia, John's ex-wife, was awarded a 200-acre estate in addition to a yearly settlement of $1 million. However, she made the unwise choice to invest all of her money in a vineyard, which led to her accumulating a significant amount of debt and ultimately led to the foreclosure of her house. In 2012, Donald Trump paid a price that was a minuscule fraction of what the vineyard, winery, and land were currently valued on the market. After some time, he also purchased a mansion from the foreclosure. So, as we wrap up, what do you think? Did some of these people deserve to lose everything? Who among them do you pity the most, and who do you think deserved it? Be sure to let us know what you think in the comment section down below. And also, while you're there, be sure to let us know what videos you'd love to see on the channel in the future, and we'll take your feedback on board. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Remember, this is where we discuss the famous, rich, and powerful. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.